Okay, let's talk about Hefty. Let's talk about Hefty, the flagship espresso blend here at Long Shot. You see, Hefty is what we roast the most of. Hefty is the biggest seller here. If you have had a coffee at one of my wholesale cafes that I supply, or if you have had a coffee at the factory here, there's a good chance that this is the coffee that you have drunk. Hefty is a blend of coffees from Brazil and from Colombia. This blend is designed around an idea of making something that is really sweet and syrupy with stacks of body and is really familiar. That's the word that I kind of want to go for, familiar. It should be all of the things that you love about coffee, just intensified. So this is a pretty low acidity coffee. It doesn't really have that acidity to make it sort of more dynamic. It's more like a confectionery, really. It's all about body. And to achieve that, well, I can go anywhere in the world to get that. This blend is not, stuck with only being from like one part of the world. So it changes based on availability. So at the moment, this coffee is from, there are two components to this blend, and it says it on the back. So on the back of the label here, my goal is that you should be able to get a lot of information from this label. So on the back, we've got 70% from Lavaretta, which is a family that I love and I've been working with for close to 10 years, a family in Brazil. There's also 30% of this blend is from Pitalito, which is in Colombia. So the coffee coming from Pitalito is a group of 150 small producers. They've banded together to produce an exportable amount of coffee. So that's what this blend is about. This blend is about trying to achieve a certain flavor, and then we go look for that flavor in coffees around the world. And then when we talk about blends that are big and heavy, a lot of the time we would expect this to be kind of like roasted pretty dark, but that's not really the goal with Hefty. It would be easy to assume that this would be a dark roast. It's still relatively light, actually, as dark roasts go. This is a very light roast, which means that when you're brewing this coffee, you may have to grind finer than you kind of expected, but you don't have to roast dark to get your coffee to be full-bodied. I think that's a bit of a misconception. You don't have to roast dark to achieve sweetness. I don't think that you have to do that. Instead, you have to find coffees that have great body and great sweetness no matter what you do to them in the roast. And then you try to roast them as light as you can so you retain as much of that flavor rather than kind of like burning it away with the roaster and trying to muscle a coffee or force a coffee to taste a certain way. Anyway, that's a little bit esoteric and that's a little bit of my philosophy about roasting, but that is what Hefty is about. It's about being sweet, syrupy, and heavy. A little bit of bitterness is okay, but it certainly can't be overpowering. And we can go anywhere in the world to find those flavors. It's roasted relatively light, which means that when you're brewing this at home, you may have to grind a little bit finer than you have in the past for maybe darker roasts. That is the story of